of Management Studies IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC-012 titled Strategic Management for MBA Program. Presenting Block 3 titled Formulation of Strategy, UNIT-7 Business Level Strategy.
Objectives. After reading this unit, you should be able to acquaint yourself with the concept of cost and its role in business growth. Understand the cost leadership strategy. Understand the concept of differentiation. Understand the concept of focus. Now, introduction. Business level strategies are a set of certain moves and action which are taken with aim to provide value to the customers, thereby developing a competitive advantage. The organization gets this competitive advantage by using the core competencies of an organization. Such strategies usually occur in the organizations having multiple businesses where each business is considered to be a strategic business unit SBU. Therefore, these strategies are the actions specifically selected for each SBU. The business level strategies try to address the following issues: satisfy the customer needs, achieving an edge over its competitors, avoidance of competitive advantage. Michael Porter, in his book Competitive Advantage 1998, suggested 3 generic competitive strategies aiming to develop a dependable position in the long run and outperform the competitors. These 3 strategies are cost leadership, differentiation, and focus. All these 3 strategies can either be used individually or in combination to each other. Cost analysis occupies an important place in business strategy. In order to gain and sustain competitive advantage, an organization should not only monitor its cost performance but also should endeavor to control it. Several strategic decisions like fixation of competitive prices, provision of after-sale services, quality of the products, etc., depend upon relative cost level of the business organization. Cost leadership stresses on producing quality products at low cost for the consumers who are price sensitive. Differentiation is a strategy which is directed at producing goods and services considered unique in its industry and directed at consumers who are relatively price insensitive. Focus strategy concentrates on producing products and services that fulfills the needs of small groups of consumers and is based on segmentation. To gain competitive advantage, it is essential for the organization to transfer skills and expertise among autonomous business units effectively. The competitive advantages in cost leadership, differentiation, and focus can be achieved depending on factors like type of industry, size of organization, and nature of competition. Differentiation strategy is more of a positioning strategy whereby the organization strives to be unique in its industry by positioning itself along certain dimensions. The degree of differentiation varies with different strategies. Differentiation is industry-wide, whereas focus strategy is based on a segment or group of segments in the industry. There are 2 variants of focus strategy, which are cost focus and differentiation focus. This unit discusses all these aspects. Role of cost in business growth. You have noted that costs play an important role in the survival and growth of a business organization. For survival, a business organization must make some profit so that it can sustain its operations on a long-term basis and fulfill its other obligations. Before a business starts operating, it has to incur certain initial costs for acquiring assets such as land, building, plant, and equipment. These assets have to be installed and commissioned. Then the raw materials are paid for and fed into the machines so that the finished goods can be produced. These are then sold in the market to generate revenue. A part of this revenue is used for repaying installments towards loans and other borrowings. The shareholders also expect certain returns in the form of dividends on the equity held by them. It is presumed that After meeting such expenses, the organization is left with some revenue to buy the raw materials and other needed utilities so that it can run the next operating cycle of the business process. The survival and growth of the business organization to a large extent depends on what the organization pays for its fixed cost and what contribution it generates after meeting all the expenses. Apportioning of the fixed costs incurred by the organization in starting a business depends on the volume of its operations. A lower volume of products puts a heavy burden on each unit produced. A larger volume of operations reduces the cost per unit. The total variable cost, which varies with the volume produced, may also reduce as a consequence of the experience curve effect. Relative cost advantage and competitive strategy. Let us understand this concept through some examples. A large manufacturing organization initially entered only into the largest product segment, that is truck tires, and aimed at dominant market share. Their latest technology helped them. They initially priced their products lower than industry leaders and offered good value for money to truck operators. Subsequently, they matched the market leaders' price and displaced by capturing higher market share. Our FMCG organization has used relative cost advantages in 3 areas: production, distribution, and promotion. By adopting semi-manual production process and concentrating in the north and west zone urban markets, and by cost-effective distributor incentive schemes and advertising spots on national radio initially, they kept their cost low in 3 areas and offered a highly price competitive product. A cycle manufacturing organization dropped the irrelevant product attributes and by subcontracting the production of parts of small units achieved cost advantages which helped the company in processing their products very competitively. Overall cost leadership. The organizations operating in this highly competitive environment are always on the move to become successful. To strive in this competitive environment, the organization should have an edge over the competitors. To develop competitive advantage, the organization should produce good quality products at minimum costs, etc. This means that the organization should provide high quality at low cost so that the customer gets the best value for the product he or she is buying. Therefore, it becomes necessary for the organizations to have a strategic edge towards its competitors. One such generic strategy is overall cost leadership, which aims at producing and delivering the product or service at a lower cost relative to its competitors, at the same time maintain the quality. According to Porter, following are the prerequisites of cost leadership: aggressive construction of efficient scale facilities, vigorous pursuit of cost reduction from experience, tight cost and overhead control, avoidance of marginal customer accounts, cost minimization. According to Porter, cost leadership is perhaps the clearest of the 3 generic or business level. To sustain the cost leadership throughout, the organization must be clear about its accomplishment through different elements of the value chain. The low-cost leadership strategy at times enables the organization to defend itself against each of the 5 competitive forces. If we see the concept of cost leadership in the Indian context, we find that it had worked wonders with textile industries, pharmaceuticals, and telecom. This shows that a cost leader, however, cannot ignore the basis of differentiation. Though low cost can be one of the most important competitive advantages enjoyed by organizations all over the globe, but it does have its drawbacks. Some of the drawbacks can be listed as initiation by the competitive organizations, threat of competitive organizations from other nations, organization losing cost leadership due to fast technological changes which require high capital investment, threat by competitors to capture still lower cost segments, competition based on other than cost. Looking at these drawbacks, one can say that cost leadership strategy has to be adopted keeping in mind the risks involved and develop an overall effective cost strategy. Differentiation. Every individual customer is unique in itself, so is his or her preferences regarding tastes, preferences, attitudes, etc. These needs of the customers are fulfilled by the organization by producing differentiated products. In our day-to-day life, we see many such examples of differentiated products. Most of the fast-moving consumer goods like biscuits, soaps, toothpaste, oils, etc. come under the category of differentiated products. To satisfy the diverse needs of the customers, it becomes essential for the organization to adopt a differentiation strategy. To make this strategy successful, it is necessary for the organizations to do extensive research to study the different needs of the customers. An organization is able to differentiate from its competitors if it is able to position itself uniquely at something that is valuable to buyers. Differentiation can lead to differential advantage in which the organization gets the premium in the market, which is more than the cost of providing differentiation. The extent to which the differentiation occurs depends on the overall strategy of the organization. Previously, differentiation was viewed narrowly by the organizations, but in the present scenario, it has become one of the essential components of the organization's strategy. When we talk of differentiation, it can be said that virtually any product can be differentiated. The greatest potential of differentiation lies in products which are of complex nature but do not have to adhere to strict regulatory standards, but the success of the differentiation strategy depends on the organization's commitment towards customers and the understanding of customer needs, as differentiation is all about perceiving on the part of the customer of something unique. Differentiation can be said to have more competitive advantage than the cost advantage, as it is quite difficult to imitate the differentiated products. Even if the initiation is done in terms of concept, then also a particular product remains unique regarding its value, style, packaging, etc. Therefore, when we talk about differentiation, it is important to understand the demand of the customers and fulfilling this demand, keeping in mind the differentiation advantage. In this case, one thing the organization should concentrate on is creativity and innovativeness than on market research. We have discussed about the concept of differentiation as a whole, but we need to know the why aspect of differentiation, that is, why do the organizations need differentiation? Need. There are a number of reasons depending on the nature of organization to adopt a differentiation strategy. It is not necessary that the organization should and must go for differentiation strategy if it does not require one. The requirement is need-based and depends on the organization's position in the market. There are a number of factors which result in differentiation. Some of them are to compete against the rivals, to create entry barriers for newcomers by building a unique product, to reduce the threats arising from the substitutes, to develop a differentiation advantage. Looking at these reasons, one can say that differentiation indeed helps the organizations to get a competitive advantage over its rival organizations. Now let us study the types of differentiation. Differentiation can be classified into two basic ways: tangible differentiation, intangible differentiation. As the name suggests, tangible means something which is real and can be seen, touched, etc. Whereas intangible means something which is abstract in nature and cannot be touched. It can just be felt. We have already discussed the tangible aspect. In fact, most of the time while discussing differentiation, we actually discuss the tangible differentiation. Some of the opportunities available for creating uniqueness within the organization. These opportunities in one way or the other measure the performance of the organization. But when these opportunities are related to the customer's psychology, the tangible aspect to differentiation comes into the picture. Projecting an image about a particular product is one form of intangible differentiation. This can be done with the help of packaging, style, etc. This shows that tangible as well as intangible differentiation goes hand in hand, and either of them cannot exist independently. Intangible differentiation is more effective in those cases where the customer has experienced the product. For example, chocolates. Every brand has a unique taste, different packaging styles, etc. This is the case where quality can be judged only after using the product once, but in case where the quality cannot be judged by experiencing, example medical services, the intangible differentiation is not that effective. In short, it can be said that intangible differentiation is accompanied by tangible differentiation. Cost of differentiation. Differentiation is usually costly. The differentiation adds costs as it involves added features to cater to the needs of the customers. Usually, the cost is incurred in the following cases: increased expenditure on training, increased advertising spent to promote the product, cost of hiring highly skilled sales force, use of more expensive material to improve the quality of the product, etc. There can be many more cost drivers depending on the nature of the organization's activity. It is not necessary that differentiation is always costly. Some differentiation is surely costly, but if the value activities are coordinated properly, the costs can be minimized. The cost of maximizing profits by minimizing costs can surely be achieved. It is believed that differentiation in having more product features can be more costly than having different but more desired features. Similarly, for bigger products, differentiation is likely to be less costly than for the small products like soaps. The cost of differentiation more or less depends on the cost drivers. The cost drivers determine the uniqueness of the differentiation activity for a particular organization. The different forms of differentiation have different effect of cost drivers, but the crux of the whole concept is that the cost be minimized to achieve an appropriate differentiation strategy, which gives a premium price for the product. Though it is very difficult to develop a trade-off between differentiation and cost efficiency, but not possible. This practice is very popular in case of automobile industry, where different organizations have many variants, but the difference is basically related to the features of the product. With the world becoming smaller due to high technological innovations, differentiation strategies adopted by many organizations is accompanied by the computer-aided work culture. Though application of modern technology increases the cost, but on the other hand, the labor cost is reduced to a large extent and technical efficiency achieved is very high. The economies of scale can be exploited to a large extent with the help of a trade-off between cost and differentiation. Advantages and disadvantages of differentiation. Everything is accompanied by advantages and disadvantages, and so is differentiation. Let us first discuss the advantages of differentiation, followed by its disadvantages. Advantages: premium price for the organization, increase in number of units sold, increase in brand loyalty by the customers, sustaining competitive advantage. Premium price for the organization. When the organization is able to exploit all sources of differentiation that are less costly or are not costly, then the organization can differentiate from its rival organizations. There can be many examples like changing the mix of product features, then adding more features, which are less costly but differentiate the product, giving a competitive advantage, that is the price premium to the organization. Increase in number of units sold. If the product is unique, then the demand for it increases, henceforth increasing the number of units sold. A very good example is of a noodle company, which has competition from the big companies but is still considered to be different from its rival. Here the number of customers is won by smart differentiating strategy, thereby increasing the number of units sold. Increase in brand loyalty by the customers. A well-positioned and differentiated product gains the brand loyalty of the customers. For example, a large coffee brand has developed a brand loyalty amongst coffee lovers. First, it came in powdered form, but it differentiated itself by coming in granular form. Then it moved to decaf version and the premix in different flavors, maintaining the quality. Once experienced, the brand loyalty or customer loyalty for a particular brand is developed. Sustaining competitive advantage. Last but not the least, this is the crux of the differentiation. This can be achieved by optimizing cost and increasing profits. It is more often known as low-cost differentiation strategy. It is the combination of all three advantages discussed above. Looking at these advantages, one can say that capitalizing the buyer or customer value is the most important. The organizations must concentrate on those activities which affect the customer value than the ones which do not. Disadvantages. It is not necessary that every time the organization goes for differentiation strategy, it is successful. At times, there are disadvantages associated with it. Some of the most common disadvantages are uniqueness of the product not valued by buyers, excess amount of differentiation, and loss due to differentiation. Now, uniqueness of the product not valued by buyers. There are a number of cases where the differentiated products has not gained importance by the customers, hence failed to position itself in the market. Uniqueness necessarily does not lead to differentiation. More important is the perception of buyers regarding a particular product. Excess amount of differentiation. Too much of anything is bad. Same is the case with differentiation. If the organization is unable to understand the customer needs and preferences but goes on differentiating the product, then the organization loses its market value. Unnecessary differentiation results in failure. Loss due to differentiation. In certain cases, the organization, while differentiating, does not realize the importance of coordinated activities in the value chain, which results in high cost. Considering the fact that differentiation always leads to profitability is absolute nonsense. This results in loss to the organizations. The advantages associated with differentiation should be looked upon with utmost care by the organizations going in for differentiation. Focus. The third business level strategy is focus. Focus is different from other business strategies as it is segment based and has narrow competitive scope. This strategy involves the selection of a market segment or group of segments in the industry and meeting the needs of that preferred segment or niche better than the other market competitors. This is also known as a niche strategy. In focus strategy, the competitive advantage can be achieved by optimizing strategy for the target segments. Focus strategy has two variants. They are cost focus and differentiation focus. Cost focus is where an organization seeks a cost advantage in the target segment, and differentiation focus is where an organization seeks differentiation in a target segment. When we talk about focus strategy as a niche strategy, it means that a market niche is chosen where customers have distinct preferences or requirements. According to Thompson and Strickland, the term niche is defined as geographic uniqueness by specialized requirements in using the product or by special product attributes that appeal only to niche members. The success of the focus strategy depends on the difference of the target segment from other segments. To explain this concept, let us take example of soft drink market. Two major players in the Indian market are rivals, but each has developed a competitive advantage by serving different segments offering flavored drinks as well. The focuser can also have an above average level of performance by having an appropriate cost focus and differentiation focus strategies. Focus strategy can be effective in certain situations only. They are market segment large enough to be profitable, market segment has good growth potential, market segment is not significant to the success of major competitors, focuser has efficient resources, focuser is able to defend against challenges, high costs are difficult to the competitors to meet the specialized needs of the niche. Focuser is able to choose from different segments. There can be more situations depending on the needs of the focuser. Focus or niche strategy has certain advantages as well as disadvantages or risks associated with it. Advantages. Focus strategy, if implemented properly, has following advantages. Focuser can defend against Potter's competitive forces. Focuser can reduce competition from new organizations by creating a niche of its own. Threat from producers producing substitute products is reduced. The bargaining power of the powerful customers is reduced. Focus strategy, if combined with low cost and differentiation strategy, would increase market share and profitability. Disadvantages. The disadvantages associated with focus strategy can be Market segment may not be large enough to generate profits. Segments' need may become less distinct from the main market. Competition may take over the target segment. We can very well say that the main objective of the focus on niche strategy is to perform a better job of serving buyers in the target market niche than rivals. Cost focus. This is basically a niche low-cost strategy whereby a cost advantage is achieved in focuser's target segment. According to Porter, cost focus exploits differences in cost behavior in some segments. In this, the focuser concentrates on a narrow buyer segment and outcompetes rivals on the basis of lower cost. Differentiation focus. In this, the organization offers niche buyers something different from the rivals. Here, the organization seeks differentiation in its target segment. Differentiation focus exploits the special needs of buyers in specified segments. A very good example of differentiation focus is the luxury car segment. After understanding all these business or generic strategies, we can say that if all the three are combined and the cost is optimized, then the market share and profitability can be increased. Focus strategy can be a tool to help the management team define and rebuild their business strategy, in turn helping them gain an edge over their competitors. Now let us summarize the chapter. The cost levels in Indian industry is general are high, and this has an adverse effect on the demand of the products both in the domestic and the international markets. A number of factors such as high government levies, excise, custom and sales tax, uneconomic production levels, and high manufacturing costs are responsible for this. The role of cost depends upon the nature of the market, that is, whether it is buyer's market or seller's market. While cost is of critical importance to a producer operating in a buyer's market, it is relatively of little significance where she or he is operating in a seller's market. The reason is that in the latter case, she or he can pass on an increase in cost to the buyers. As such, she or he has no motivation to control or cut down costs.
We were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC-012, titled Strategic Management. Course coordinator Professor Neeti Agrawal. Voiceover by Chitra Gaur. Edited by Ashok Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jaha. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.